Welcome back once again, my fellow programmers. Thank you for joining me in our first in what should be many code-along videos. In this code-along, we are going to cover the two learning objectives from the theory videos. We're going to work on creating string literals and calling those two system methods, the system.out.print and system.out.println. So some instructions for our code along videos. You want to watch the video and you want to code along with the example that we do. Now, since it's a video, you can pause. If you need more time, you can rewind if you missed something. It would be easiest if you watched the video on a separate device. So maybe you code on your laptop or your iPad and you watch the video through Schoology on your phone. At certain points, I'm going to ask questions. I'm going to ask you to pause the video to think about those answers. So pause the video and think about those answers to those questions. Try to have an answer to those questions before you join us again. In order to code, we need to get into our IDE. So you need to be at a browser and we just go to repl.it. We're going to head on over to Repl.it. We are going to log in if you're not already logged in by clicking the login button on the top right. And remember, we log in with our Glenbard Google account. So we just click the Google G above the login box. That will take you to your main REPL homepage. In the left menu, if you don't see the left menu, you can always hit the three bars on the top left to expand your menu. We can go to the My REPLs section. Now, I like to sort my projects into folders. And so in the main folder, I have a tutorials folder. And then in there, I'm going to make a unit 1 folder. I don't need to make a folder for every single lesson, but I like to separate everything by unit. Now every folder needs to have a unique name, so I'm just going to add 2020 at the end. Since this might be your first time adding folders, you don't need to add the 2020 at the end. And so now I will go into my new folder and I'm going to create a new REPL by clicking the blue box with the white plus in it on the top right. Java is my programming language, and this is, we are doing string literals and system methods. And then at the bottom of that box, click on the blue box that says Create REPL. It will set up your workspace for you. I have the dark theme enabled. I have large text, so hopefully it's easier for you to read on the video. Yeah, that's the biggest, that's huge text, so hopefully it's easy for you to see. Now we already explored what a basic Java program looks like. And now we're just going to focus on line 3. Line 3 is that system.out.println code. It's calling that println method that belongs to the system class, and it is passing in the string literal hello world. So our sample program gives us this sample line of code. Remember, we can click the green run button on the top, and then over in our console, it displays that output hello world. What I want you to do is change this string literal, try different string literals, and see what happens. See what works, see what doesn't work. Try to break the program just so you can see what kind of constraints are actually there. And then join us again. So pause it for a second, try some different string literals, try to break the program, and join us again when you're done. All right, welcome back. One string literal I would do, I would type my name because I just like to see computers say my name. And there we go, that string literal prints out. Maybe I would just try to type some random garbage, see what happens there. If we type out random garbage, that all just kicks right back out to us. Maybe I would try putting nothing inside those quotes and see what happened. It still worked, it did not kick an error, and it just didn't print anything out. Maybe I would try to take the quotes out and see what happened. And again, it didn't cause an error, it just didn't print anything and exited fine. Now, if I try to take out one of the double quotes, well, then that causes an error. It says error unclosed string literal. Well, we know what a string literal is. It should be something that's enclosed in double quotes. Well, this one tells us that it's unclosed, meaning that we are, and it even points, it says, here's where your string literal begins. It begins on line 3. So the errors are really helpful. Make sure you read those errors. There's even a red lightning bolt over here. When you mouse over it, we have the string literal is not properly closed by a double quote. Maybe I would try putting an extra double quote in the middle of my string literal. And again, we do get an error. It says it wants, first of all, it says it wants a parenthesis after the first closing quote. So that second quote that we typed, it says, I want a parenthesis there. And then after that, I have an unclosed string literal after that. So we cannot put a double quote inside a string literal. If you watch the theory video, right now you're saying, Mr. G, you told me I could make anything a string literal, and now you're telling me I can't make a double quote a string literal? You can. You for sure can make a double quote a string literal. It's just a little bit more complicated than just putting the double quote in there, and we'll learn that a little bit later. Once I got this to work, I would try using this line again. So let's go down to the next line. So we put our cursor after the semicolon on line 3 and hit enter. And now you're on a new line of code. I want you to type 2 print lines out yourself and just print out 2 different pieces of information. Join us again when you have that. So remember, you need to have system with a capital S. That autocomplete shows up. You can just hit tab once it highlights the word that you want, or you can just select it with the mouse. So once I typed that period, that dot, system dot, it gave me the choice for out, and then I do dot again. And then these are all different methods that we can use. Everything with this purple box, these are all of the methods that are part of the system.out, so part of the system class that we are using. So we want we want println. And then this time I'm going to say AP Computer Science A. And then you can either close your double quote or use your right arrow on your keyboard to step to the right. Then you can close your parenthesis or again use your right arrow to step to the right again. And we do need to put that semicolon at the end. And so now when we run this, we see that each one of those are on their own line of code or on their own line of output in the console. So line 3, this print line method printed this line to the console, and line 4, this print line method printed this line to the console. Quick question, what do we call the additional information that we pass in to a method? So in this case, it is the string literal Mr. Gajewski, and this specific instance, it's the string literal AP Computer Science A, but generically, what do we call that additional information that's passed inside of a method? That is called an argument. So we have the argument Mr. Gajewski up here. We have the argument that's the string literal AP Computer Science A down here. I'm going to go to my next line. I'm going to type another line of code, system.out. This time I'm just going to use the print method, and I'm just going to print A. And now when we run that, we'll see A is on its own line of code, but you'll notice that that red cursor is now on the same line. Before it was on the line underneath it, because whenever we do a print line, it moves the cursor down, but whenever we do a print, it keeps it on the same line. So now the cursor is right there right after the A. If we go to another line and do another system.out print, maybe this time we'll print out the capital B, and we run that, we'll see that the AB are both on the same line. Print leaves the cursor on the same line. Now, if we wanted to move the cursor to the next line at this point, we could just say system.out.println, and we don't need to put anything inside of the parentheses. We're just saying, don't print out anything, and then hit enter. So right now we see that red arrow, it's on the line with the AB. If we hit run, it got moved down a line. So we can do that to space out information that we are printing out whenever we want. So system.out.println, we could do another one, and now it will leave a blank space. And now we could do system.out.println cd. And so now we have a blank space between the AB and the CD. This first blank print line, the print line with no argument, that moved the cursor from the B to the next line. And then this print line with no argument on line 8 moved from that line underneath the AB to one more line down. So we can use a combination of print lines and prints however we want to make whatever kind of information that we want display in our console. So we practiced using string literals, and we practiced using our two system methods, our print and our println. Remember, program execution is linear, so if we move any of these lines around, it prints from top down. So it'll always do whatever your first line is, then your next line, all the way down. If we took this CD line and moved it up higher, well, then it would print out first. It would print out before the AB. So it just executes from the top down in this linear fashion. That's going to do it for this code along. I do recommend that you practice these two different statements and work with different string literals. See what works. What's also important is seeing what doesn't work. Thanks for coding along with me. As always, make sure that you hit me up with any questions or concerns you have regarding this content. Make sure that you join us in the next video and keep programming.